All right, let's start that good nigga. Bum 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 ba dum bum be ba ba dum bum ba bum bo bum be da ba dum bum ba bum ba da ba dum la la da bum be da ba dum bum be da bum ba da bum ba dum bum ba bum be bum bum be da bum bum la I Good morning, everybody. Chodesh Elul is learning Leilun Nishmas Bas Yafega Bas Yisrael. Leilun Nishmas Levi Ben Yosef for the refuah of Sarah Bas Rachel Fega, and for the refuah of Leah Shoshana Bas Malia. This week is sponsored by Sophia Bina Kirchner for the refuah Shlema of her Abba Yidel Ben Rachel. So have a refuah Shlema Be'ezer Hashem. Here's pages for the chevra that need. Anybody need pages? Yeah. Okay. So you can take one and pass one down. We have a new letter, and this letter, so far for me, this one is this is fire. This is Avodas Hashem Pnimi, and it talks. We never know what the letter that was sent was, right? We only know the letter that Reb Usher sent back to somebody. But this one, you could see. So we've been assuming what the letter was about that he got, right? But this one, this one is pretty clear that it's about Shalom Bayis. And this is a fascinating letter. I found so much chizuk, and I know that by whatever I got by looking at it before, I can't even imagine how much more I personally will get by learning it together with everyone. You got to buckle up for this one. This one is a very chazak letter. And even though I know no one has inyanim of Shalom Bayis and everything's perfect at home, but maybe you could help someone else with these words if you find it at the right time. It's very chazak. Kamuvan, this is drilling home the whole rhythm of this sefer and the letters that Reb Usher has been sharing with us. He's drilling home the nekudas that we're all in the game. We're all in the game. There's a game. There's the game, the Chukei Abriya, the game that the Rebbeinu Shalom designed. Everyone is in the game. The only shaila is if you just want to stay on the bench or you want to actually be on the field. That's the whole inyan. Everyone's in the game. So we're going to see inside here how to play the game. How to really play the game and be a menatzeach, be victorious. So you see over here, this is Cheshvan Tavshin Lamed Beis. This means it's probably around November 1971. October, November 1971. Reb Usher says as follows. Yeah, that's the page you have, Dalid, right? Yeah, okay, very good. Very good. Okay, let's go. Lichvod, in honor of dear so-and-so. You could put your name on the top. By the way, Mamish, I was thinking about this. If you really want to learn this, you could put your name over there on the top of every lichvod, that would be a gewalt. If Hashem is asking us every time we open the Torah, put your name. V'atu kisvu lachem. Lachem is Hashir Aziz. Put your name in every parsha. Ve'ata le'etzem inyan michtavcha. Okay, let's get down to business. V'hine ata golel bo kol yirios hachayim shlachem. You shared all the different waves that your life has led you on. Asher me'etzem tivam hem shezurim aliyos v'yeridos kedimyon ha'or v'achoshech hayom v'halayla. What you shared and what you know is that your life is filled with ups and downs, like we have light and darkness, day and night. Lachen. Ein lo la'adam lisyash b'sha'as ha'yerida, keshem she'ein lo lihis'olel b'sha'as ha'aliyah. Now, there's a musag for this in Torah Baal Shem Tov that we'll get to in a second. What the Reb Usher said over here is that just like you shouldn't despair when you're stuck in the pit of darkness, so too shouldn't you think that you conquered the world when things are going good. What's that word in Torah Baal Shem Tov? Hishtavus, which in English is equanimity. I love just saying that. I feel so smart and like so halig when I say equanimity. What a name. The truth is, on one of the, I have all these not breathing playlists, but all these more chilled, all these playlists that I just put on a Spotify playlist that things pop up where it's just like, sometimes it drives my children crazy. They're on shpilkas when I put this stuff on, but so it's just like this, either waves or some French horn over like a beat from Mongolia or something, I don't know. And then one time there was one track where I was like, oh. I look at the name of the track, Equanimity. Equanimity, it's amazing. If you want it, I'll send it to you. It's 2.5 minutes or something, but it brings this out. What did he just say over here? He said in a very deep thing, he's like, when you're mamish in the pits of darkness, don't think you reached what's going to be. Just like the other way too. Just like the other way too. Is that when you're flying really high, don't say, higati ela menucha ve'lanachla. Elamai. So this is the game. Ben kach uven kach, hu tzarich lisos al ha'inyan ha'pnimi ha'korelo. Both when you're high and you're low, seek out a deeper inyan that is calling out to you right now in the moment, that it's leman Shlomo. There's something here that is good for you. Betovaso hanitzchis. I love you. Let me breathe it out for a second, okay? Leman Shlomo betovaso hanitzchis, and for his eternal good. Shehasagaso hu rak pri ma'avak umilchama kasha. And the only way that you can understand and internalize and breathe in that what you're going through, bein letov, bein lera, but usually we don't ask these questions when things are good. When things are great, you're like, Ribono Shleilam, what are you really trying to tell me? No one really says that when things are geschmack. Obviously, we say this when we're dark, when it's mamish in the cellar. And he says to be masig, what the Ribono Shleilam is telling you is only a fruit of the struggle and the milchama kasha and the hard war. L'chaim u'lemavis, asher b'milchamto zo nitzchono muftach. Your your nitzachon, your victory, is promised to you if you choose to wage it. If you choose to wage it. And this is an interesting thing. There's two different times in the Torah it speaks about going out to war. By Parshas Kiseitze, it says, Kiseitze l'milchama levecha, and then what's the result? Unesana Hashem lakecha b'yadecha. That you go out to war, you wage war. If you're waging war, unetano Hashem lakecha b'yadecha. What happens in Parshas Ba'aloscha? Vayaki tavo milchama al artzechem. Right? And then what do you have to do? Utkatem b'chatzotzrot. What's the difference between the two? All the Sfarim are asking, why is it that in Kitetze, you wage war? It's promised that things are good for you. Ba'aloscha, you have to start blowing shofar, getting ready, freaking out, v'chulei. Because when you let a passive enemy keep on growing and standing there and being there on the front lines, and you don't wage war on it, and then it comes and it attacks you, example given. Conceptia. Then you have to start with the shofars and all this. But Reb Usher is saying over here, if you were waging war, and you have to just declare this world is a war. Now, a war doesn't mean, why is everything so hard? It just means you chap that this is what the game is. So if you go out and wage that war, which is really an elul, where we're kind of like putting the headlights on, then nitzchono muftach unesana Hashem elakecha beyadecha. Hashem places it in your hand, bevadai, ki yesh lo ozer somech v'tomech ne'eman. Because now, what do you have? If you're the one that wages war, if you're the one that is always lechatchila, saying whatever's happening to me today, I'm going to be asking for the inyan apnimi of what are you really telling me, the Ribbon Shleilim, and please explain to me how this is definitely for the betterment of how I experience going through this world. Because now you have an ozer somech v'tomech ne'eman. You have the most faithful right hand. You have the most faithful right hand, the most faithful one. Melech Malchei Amlachim, Shu Abayir Yisbarach, Shebra'o Yesh Me'ayin. He created you ex nihilo, kedei lehetiv imay, only to do good for you. This is the shaila that everyone has. You call this Hashem doing good for me? You call this tzaras doing good for me? I'll share with you something very fast, outside of this, that I experienced last night. Last night I had to do something for an event for, what was it called? Ichud Hatzalah, United Hatzalah. It was a night of trying to raise money for the resilience of the warriors and the responders and all the mitnadvim that have been, obviously, their lives, you just imagine what their lives are. And as we were there, there was you heard two sirens going on because there was a rooftop in the middle of Yerushalayim, this beautiful rooftop in the middle of town, and Mamish right next to Friedman, like the old place there, Rehov Lincoln, Lincoln, right? Lincoln. And suddenly you hear the sirens, and then you see the response, right away. These guys are right there, on the spot, all the time. The Yonatan put it together. It's a really, really special event. They were supposed to have there a chatufa that she spent, 400, 500 days there in captivity, named Arbel Yehud. Do you remember that name? Mm-hmm. Arbel Yehud. Went through hell. I think her brother was killed. And she was in captivity not knowing anything. For so long she was kept alone, secluded. And her father was there. She couldn't end up making it because she had to be at another thing. At the consulate or something, dealing with another group. So the father came, and he ended up speaking. This father had to bury his son, and he didn't know what was going on with his daughter for over 400, 500 days. Mashu kazeh. Bless you. And it's a very interesting thing. This beautiful Temani Yid, his name's Yechiel. Yechi, they call him. Yechi. He'd be good in Lubavitch as a nickname. Yechi. Yeah, Yechi. Right, that was Yechi Yehud. Yeah, it's actually a great name, Yechi Yehud. He got up and spoke and he shared with us, and he wasn't wearing a yarmulke in the beginning, and I'll explain why I'm saying that right now. Because he spoke on her behalf, he shared her whole story. The brother that was killed was a Hatzalah mitnadev, and that was the connection between the two. And Eli Bir, the head of Atzala, he's sitting Shiva. He lost his mother. He couldn't be there. But there was basically like all the top chevra in this wonderful and holy organization that should be out of business, Be'ezer Hashem. They should be out. They should just be different type of atzalas, not for this stuff anymore. So he's speaking, and after he spoke and he gave over the whole thing, and he shared with us something crazy, that the only reason why his daughter wasn't included in the first initial deals where you had civilians coming back, because she was a civilian. She wasn't I don't think she was a soldier. She was a civilian. The reason why she didn't end up being freed is because there was eternal machlokes amongst her captives. She was held captive by, I hate to say these words in shul, just for the sake of this story, jihad, the Islamic jihad, right? And not the other Yamach Shemamim. And there was a battle amongst the heads of Jihad Islami, who's going to take the credit for releasing her. They were fighting over it day and night, that they basically missed the whole inyan, and she ended up staying another 380 days after that because of, just imagine torment and torture that a father like this goes through. Crazy. He's speaking to us, he's sharing as much as he possibly can. At the end of his words, the Chevra from Atzala gave him a gift of a beautiful, beautiful mezuzah. I don't know if I missed the piece, if this was one of the mezuzahs they put together from shrapnel. I don't know. We have all these crazy things we're doing now with the Tilim and everything. So he said, can I speak one more time? And everyone's like, of course, are you kidding me? All we want to hear is from you. So he gets up and he speaks again. And he says, okay, אני עכשיו קצת מתבייש להגיד את זה, כי זה אנחנו עומדים בפני ציבור דתי. אני בפני ציבור דתי, ואני מקווה שתסכימו לשמוע את מה שיש לי להגיד עכשיו. לא תכננתי את זה, אבל מה הלב שלי אומר לדבר אליכם את הדברים הבאים. Okay, I'm going to say this in Hebrew. He said, אנחנו בית תימני. אני גדלתי, אבא שלי בנה בית כנסת, בראשון לציון. האחים שלי בנו איתו בכנסת. גדלתי עם פרשה, בית כנסת, כל יום מגיל 3. מה שקרה, גדלנו, עברנו לקיבוץ ניר עוז, ואומנם לא שמרנו על רוח חיים דתי, אבל איכשהו בא איזה אחד מהקיבוץ, שאחרי הצבא הלך להודו, קוראים לו אמוץ, וחזר אחרי זה ושאל אותי, יחי, אתה יודע את התורה, אנחנו יודעים שאתה בבית שלך אתה מתפלל, ולומד פרשת שבוע כל שבוע. אתה יכול ללמד אותי טעמי המקרא? He's like one of these guys that, kibbutz Nir Oz is a kibbutz of Shomer HaTzair, you understand? This is not chevra that are giving out, Shnai Mikra Echad Targum, right? This is the hardcore leftists. So he said, בטח שאני אלמד איתך. So we started learning together. ובסופו של דבר, אני ואמוץ בנינו בית כנסת בניר עוז, שאנשים לא מבינים. They ended up building a shul on this very left-wing secular kibbutz, which is not a simple ordeal. We've been to the one in Be'eri. Yossi, you've been to the one in Nir Oz, to the shul there? So this guy built it. Okay? You probably know the guy I'm talking about. Yeah? This guy was amazing. And he said, אצלי אומנם הדת קצת נחלשה, אבל האמונה תמיד הייתה שפיץ. And then he says, אבל יש לי בעיה. כי מאז ה-7 באוקטובר, אני נמצא במשבר אמוני. Since October 7th, I'm in a deep, deep crisis of faith. Because of the choshech that he's been in, and that he's still in. Because I think I didn't understand fully. There was someone else that's kosher to his family, that's one of the bodies that are being held in captivity.
Boyfriend.
Sorry, her boyfriend, Ariel.
Yeah.
Yafeh. Not Yafeh, horrible. But yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, so he's saying, I'm still stuck in a deep mashber emuni. That's what he's saying. Because it's dark, dark. It's so dark here. And he says, big rabbis found out about this. They contacted me. They invited me. I'm not going to mention the names right now that he said, because then he says, והם לא מדברים איתי, הם מדברים אליי. אני לא יכול לשמוע אף מילה שהם אומרים. הם לא מדברים איתי, הם מדברים אליי, עם סיסמאות פוליטיות. אני לא יכול. ואני מאז, הדבר הכי קשה לי, זה המשבר האמוני שלי. My crisis in faith is the hardest thing in the world. And then he says, and then this is the kicker, okay? Then he says, שלא תבינו אותי לא נכון. מי אני? אני גרגיר חול בפני מלך מלכי המלכים. So I was thinking, what's the crisis exactly? You don't have a faith in, you don't have a crisis in faith.
Crisis of faith in the rabbis, that's for sure.
But you don't have, right? So he said what he said, and he just said, אני לא יודע למה רציתי לחלוק איתכם את זה, אבל אני הולך עכשיו לקחת את המזוזה הזאת ולשים את זה על הבית של ארבל. I'm going to put it on Arbel's home. יש לה מזוזה, he said, אבל אני הולך לשים את זאת עם חדשה. And then they're like, okay, we would like, me to come up and say words and sing. I'm thinking, well, okay, Hatzlacha Rabba Shlomo. Like, right? I sang one niggun. I wasn't there, they weren't there, it was bichlal, right? And then I said, Cheva, Yechiel adayin po. I was looking for him on the rooftop. Found him, he was there. I said, Yechiel, tishma. אני יכול ללמד 500 שיעורי תורה בשבוע וללמוד בישיבה 500 שנה. ולא ללמוד על מהות האמונה כמו שלמדתי ממך ב-20 דקות האחרונות. אני וכולנו ביחד איתך במשבר הזה, ואתה חיזקת אותי בממדים שאני לא יכול לתאר לך. You've just strengthened me in ways that I and none of us here that you think are so holy because we're wearing kippahs could ever express to you. And the weirdest thing happened. First of all, he came up and he just grabbed me and started hugging me. I'll send you pictures and kissing me. And then he put on a yarmulke and sat right 2 minutes and then was with me the whole night. It was unbelievable. Now this person, he's not running away from the Ribbon Shleilim at all. But he called the mashber emuni, a faith and a crisis in faith, is, I feel so strongly, is that he's doing an avoda that Reb Usher is speaking about over here, not even realizing that he's doing an avoda. There's a lot more to say, but this struck me so deep because he was saying, Alavai Bezrat Hashem, I'll be able to come back and be strong in my faith again. I know HaKadosh Baruch Hu is waiting for me. And that's called a mashber be'emunah. That's a crisis in faith. So when we were speaking over here about this war, Reb Usher says, this war is constant. By some people, it shows up a bit more revealed in their face, and then they have to press the buttons. And by some people, they're aware already that it's constant. So the shaila is, are you a Parshas Kisei Tzayid or a Parshas Baalos Chayid? That's what I feel, that's what this whole letter and this whole hashkafa from this sefer is asking us. Are you a preemptive striking Yid, Kisei Tzayid Milchama Levecha, or are you Conceptia October 7th Yid? And then you're shocked, how could it be? How could it be? How could it be? How could this be happening to me? The war's always there. Always. Okay, Eli, I see you're like going to explode if
So no, I'm going to leave it till later. Because what you said is that...
If I got your haskama, I can continue. No, Be'emet, if I got Eli's haskama, I feel okay to continue a little bit. Okay, let's...
Where did he have a kippah from?
I don't know.
Was it in his
I didn't see. I don't know. It was really incredible.
No,
Yeah.
I just remember just hearing this now about him specifically, out of the thousands of hours of news that I watched in the last 2 years. I remember she said in the last hostage deal that they did, she was, I think she was the last chatufa that was released. And I remember vividly, they didn't want to release her. They couldn't find her. They couldn't find her.
That's what they told the father. Yesh baya, he said, Amru lanu, yesh baya logistit.
Right. Right, and I remember distinctly there was, on the news, they showed Arabs in Gaza, they were waiting to open one of the crossings as part of the, and they said the whole, Kol Aza netzar bigla arbel Yehud echad. Like the whole Gaza, I remember Arabs saying this on TV, the whole Gaza stopped for this one arbel Yehud. And
Wow.
it was,
Wow. It was more recent. It wasn't
Yeah, that
last
was
year.
all-
Yeah.
that
Right?
was, that was, I think she was one of the
I
last.
think so.
The last, in the
Yeah.
last round of.
I believe so. Yeah. Being with him struck a chord in all of us. It struck it so deep. I'm going to send you guys pictures. It was something else. It was something else. Okay. Next paragraph. Umilchama zohu milchama tmidit. This war of trying to understand. Ribono Shel Olam, what are you telling me? What do you want from me? Is always. Hi mitmashechet lechol orech shnot chayenu. It's always going to be like this. Im rav ve'im me'at. By some it's a bit more. By some a bit less. Ve'en echad mibai olam shu patur mimena. If you came down to this world in the form of a body, you're not exempt from going through this milchama. En echad patur mimena. Ki alozosi etzem mahusal umetzius chayav. This is what life is all about. Ukechol and these sentences irk us. This is what life's about, right? This is what you want to tell me. This is what life's all about. The milchama. Yeah, it is. Ki alozosi etzem mahusal umetzius chayav. Ukechol sheyetiv leilachem kach yetiv im chayav. And the better you know how to wage war, the better life is. Liyeter diuk. Let's get more exact. Kechol sheyagbir etzlo haratzon leilachem. The more that the drive and the will to fight gets accelerated, kach yaftiach letzido hasiyua milamala lenatzeach etz oivei shebenefesh. Then the more help that will be coming to you from heaven to conquer this oyev that always comes and tries to bury our souls alive. וכמו שבכל מלחמה ישנו זמן מסוים שהוא בבחינת ערפל גמור של תוהו ובוהו. And in battles, there you always know there's a moment in war, there's that one moment where it's mamish arafel, umoshe nigash el arafel, where it's absolutely, completely dark and cloudy. And there's nothing that makes sense. And there's no end to this. And the brutality of the moment gets heavier and heavier. And you know that the smartest thing right now would be to just walk away, because it's too much. That's what the brain says. So too with our wars that we wage against that sitra achra, that other side. We have those moments in our life too. Not in Gaza, in Efrat, in Yerushalayim, in the old city, anywhere. This is always there. One guy once told me, he said, I went up to Har HaBayit and I almost lost my mind. I said, wow, because the provoking was, they were like screaming Allahu Akbar. He's like, no. Because I was on Har HaBayit and these thoughts from the Yetzer Hara, dafka there, came to me, and I felt like I was the lowest piece of dirt in the world. And I mamish kimat lost my mind. Whatever, the Piasetzner addresses this in B'nai Machshava Tova about those heilige machshavas that suddenly, all year long, they're dormant, and they show up on Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur, after all the achanas, they show up on Yom Kippur, right? ככה אצל האדם במלחמתו ישנו המצב הזה שנראה כאילו הוא ללא נשוא. There are these times it looks, you feel like, אין לי סיכוי. I got no chance. אבל באמס, זהו המצב והשעה הנכונה המזדמנת לו לאדם. This is actually the best time in the world. The most appropriate and מכוון time for man, לתת את עבודת הנפש מעצמו. להתעורר התעוררות של מטה שאין למטה ממנה, כדי לגלוס כי שם הוא נמצא. What does it mean שם הוא נמצא? Not that you're there, that Hashem is there. כי שם הוא נמצא, to reveal that that's where Hashem is. וגם קולו נשמע מסוף העולם ועד סופו לאמור. And his voice can be heard from one end of the world to the next. Hashem hu Elokim, ואתה הוא אלוקינו. Lama istarta panecha mimeni hine ata. This is Yechiel Arbel. Yechiel Arbel's words. You're God. You are God. This is not a faith in this is not a crisis in wondering whether you exist or not. The crisis is, why are you concealing your face from me? Here you are. Meaning you'll eventually hear those words, here you are, if you have enough guts to be real with Hashem, and saying, Lama ata mastir panecha mimeni? Al taste panecha mimeni? V'zeu, and then look how he ends here. Now this is radical. What does he call this process that we just went through? A tanug. And this is a tanug. V'zehu ta'anugo ha'amiti ve'alav hushtat ha'olam. Whatever pleasure you think you've reached in this world, the greatest pleasure that the soul feels in this world is that when it goes through this process of complete Hester Panim, acknowledges that this is Hester Panim. In the war, I'm surrounded by Yishmaelim and Nazis in my mind, okay? And dafka there to say, well, it doesn't get lower than this. Are you enjoying this, Ribono Shleilim? Because I'm not. And the more you say that, the more you realize you're recognizing that the Ribono Shleilim is here with you in this place. If you're bold enough to actually bring God to the picture at that moment. What prevents us? And then he says that when that happens, there's no greater tainug in this world. Now, chavre, lemaisa, avoda. What prevents us from going there when we're in the midst of the pit of hell? What is the midah that prevents us from going to this place?
Despair.
I'm talking about like from the midas, like that. Despair is a tchuna. Like, what brings us to this despair? What prevents us from actually like acknowledging that this is also Hashem?
Ego.
Pachad, ego, anger, gaiva, all these things. What's that?
Depression.
No, the shaila was, what leads you to that place? One step before depression and despair. What is the midah that prevents a person from tapping into what he's just saying over here right now? So really, in its shoresh, it is gaiva. In its shoresh. Now, never tell someone that's suffering, ever, listen, I want to just let you know, you're a big bal gaiva and that's why bad things are happening to you. That's not the inyan either. In its shoresh, al pi pnimiyus hatayra, in the root of it is gaiva. Why are things, anyone that asks the questions of why are things bad without acknowledging that the Ribono Shleilim is in that question with you, the shoresh of it is gaiva. But you have to ask this shaila with the Ribono Shleilim with you, and the shoresh of that midah is anava. It's mamish the flip side. You ask the same exact question, but with the acknowledgement of the Eibishter here in this, and then that becomes the most unavdika moment in the world. What you begin to hear within your own nefesh, Reb Usher says, brings about the greatest ta'anug, pleasure in this world, greater than any shvitz you ever go to, greater than any high davening you ever had, greater than that feeling of writing a check for $180,000 to a mosa, to a shul, to a school, greater than anything in the world, greater than any physical pleasure. That's this tanug. Now, we also know, and this is brought down in this farm as well, tanug tmidi eino tanug. That means that consistent pleasure stops being pleasure. So that's why life is a seesaw. It's a roller coaster because you're not always going to be in this place. But when you do show up there, the questions are, am I showing up with gaiva, with anava? Now, how do I make sure I show up with anava? Preemptive strikes. Not to wait till you got to the Arafel. Rav Leo was able to speak the way he spoke at his daughter's funeral, and two or 3 days later by his wife's funeral, only because of one thing. And he said this, because he learns emuna every day. Not after what happened to his wife and children. He said every day before that he was learning emuna. You ready?
Yes, now I'm ready. No, because now what I was going to say makes sense. Emunah comes.
Just louder, please.
Emunah comes from the idea of faithfulness, constancy, practice. In the first sentence that Reb Usher talks about, he talks about the aliyos v'yeridos kedimyon ha'or v'hachoshech hayom v'halayla. And the word dimyon is not by accident. There is day, there is night, there is ups and downs, right? It's really there. But he says it's a dimyon. Because behind that lies a reality that's always there. And we don't see. We have to play hide and seek a little bit. But when we do that, there's no greater time for the one who's found and the one who finds. Right? And that's when we realize it's a dimyon. But you can never tell somebody, as you were saying, oh, this is just a dimyon. They got to live it.
Right.
But that's sort of...
Right, you won't go to that guy last night, Yechiel Arbel, and say, listen, I want to tell you a secret, how to get out of this whole thing. It's really just a dimyon.
Yeah,
No, it's not.
It's all in your head.
It's all in your head. No,
There
it's
is
not.
day, there is night. there
Right,
is up and
right.
there
It's
is
not a
down.
dimyon, right?
But the idea that there's a dimyon is a lived experience.
Yes.
It's not, to talk about this intellectually is just completely difficult. You can't...
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So here now he continues with the issue at hand. All right. So like one day he feels like he married Miss Israel, and the next day he feels like he married Zeresh. That's what it sounds like. Okay. That's mamish. One day he feels like he struck gold, the best decision in the world. The next day he feels like this is like gates on mavis. Mamish. וזו היא גם התשובה לבקשותיך המפורטות להנהגת הבייס על ידי נאווה בייסך היקרה. This is also the answer regarding your specific requests and questions regarding how the house is run by your wife. כי כאשר ייכנס האדם לסדר העבודה המוטלת עליו של תכליס חייו, when a man enters into the seder avoda which is placed upon us regarding living with the tachlis of life, which means lehakir heitev es mahuso ha'atzmis, to really know what your inner essence really is all about, for real, like this whole sefer has been telling us, velatet et halev behavana ma'amika lechol hasibot hamizdamnot lo b'derech chayav al yedei mesabev sivos, which basically means you're in the game, your heart is in the game, you acknowledge this is the way that the world runs, and on you is the job to figure out how to show up with anava and not with gaiva. That you've decided already in the morning, not, okay, I'm waging war, but when you say, "Mai dani lefanecha," you believe in me that I'm not going to let for things to come in and take control of me. Today I'm going to give it a really, really good shot, and my heart is fully in this. My inner etzem of my mahus, of what makes Shlomo tick the way he does, what makes Tom tick the way he does, what makes Yeshua, that this is what we're in for today. Kidei le'orero al amitius tikun nafsho, to wake you up for the emes of the tikun of your nefesh, which your whole life is dependent on. Shekol etzem chayav talui b'zeh. Honestly, if you heard Nissim talk on Shabbos morning or Friday night, both Friday night and Shabbos morning, I don't think you need anything else in this world. I'm being very serious. I don't think you need anything. Like, it's exactly this. In order to wake you up for the amitius of the tikkun of your nefesh, that your whole life is dependent on this. O az yakrin menafsho, what will start to be makrin, radiating from your nefesh? He'ara nifla'a, not just on you, an amazing illumination will start shining and radiating from your heart because of the choices that you make as to how to look at this world and what you're supposed to do here. And then Reb Usher says, and then all those inyanim that are around you, they start to be receiving a tremendous, tremendous amount of light coming from you. O az yakrin minafsho he'ara nifla'a al kol ha'sovev oso, ve'o az me'ela vishtanu kol ha'hanagos bebayis, Hakolelos kol inyanei habayis v'seder hotza v'tiva v'hakol yavoi al mekomo b'shalom. What sefer does this sound like, this last sentence? Which sefer does this sound like? A modern sefer. Mamash Reb Arush. This last 3 lines is the whole Gana Shalom, the Garden of Peace. Without getting into all the versions, and I'm just saying that the whole tachlis of that sefer is when you come and you have the kvetching about I once married Miss Universe and now I'm married to Zeresh and all these inyanim. Reb Usher is saying there's something guaranteed for you. That if you, of course, we're not speaking about machalas gufanios that people need refuah shlema, but all the other zachin that we get stuck in. He's saying what's guaranteed to you is that if you start your day with wondering and trying to figure out and asking the shailas of the etzem tikkun of my own nefesh, me, Ribono Shel Olam, how am I doing this? How am I waging war today? How am I understanding what I'm supposed to be doing here today? And it's coming with anava, like we spoke about earlier. Reb Usher says, you think it's just you that's benefiting from it? Look back at your list of all the kvetches of this is wrong, that's wrong. What will happen? They'll say, it's not going to disappear, but what ends up happening to them? There's a kli kibul, there's light that's coming, shining out of you, and that's entering into everyone around your house. And then the whole seder in the house changes. The soundtrack in the house changes. I always tell parents, when they're speaking about the problems, either shalom bayis or the problem with the children, and the worst night of the week is Friday night, happens all the time. I always ask them, what is the soundtrack in your house on Friday afternoon? Always. They say, but you mean like, is it like Eitan Katz or? I'm like, no. I mean, that's nice. You should, but I'm saying, what are your kids? What's beaming off onto them? What's beaming off onto them? I can't control it. You can't control it. But I'm guarantee you that if you go into this avoda, specifically a Friday afternoon, but it's true for any day of the week, the way that he's speaking, mimela, the metzius is that this type of avodas hanefesh and the tanug that you're tasting by the kisei tzil milchama, everyone that's in your machane becomes a much, much more confident and happier warrior. And your house is your machane. Your house is your machane. Your battalion is your mishpacha. Your yechida, and you're the mefaked. And she's the mefakedet. But she's really the zgan mefakedet. Because you're the mefaked. You're running, your energy is more or less dictating what the home is going to be like. No, it's really her. No. She gets her woman empowerment stuff. Just don't worry. It is we're Baalei Abayit. So he must have brought up all these different shilas that were very, very difficult about how things are in the home, and this is like this and that's like this. And he's saying, I hear you, I hear all your shilas, but let's just address the way things work be'emes lamito. The emes lamito is on you. Are you Parshas Kiseitze? Are you Parshas Baaloscha? And many of us are very tired. We're tired of this already. And you only get tired of Parshas Baaloscha wars. You don't get tired of Kiseitze Milchama wars. Because those fill you with more and more koyach. They actually fill you with more of a determination to seek out, where else could I go conquer? Where else could I go conquer? What else needs conquering? Not conquering, like, what else is waiting for a tainuk to be felt in this area in life? Where else? Okay, let's stop here. We'll continue this next time, Be'ez Hashem. Shkoyach, everybody.